Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, good day, wherever you are, beloved KMers in our KMGN Knowledge Creation and Innovation course. Today, we have a special guest. Thanks to Vincent, we have with us Dr. Richard Lobo. Maybe not everyone is aware of this name outside India, but Dr. Richard Lobo is presently a senior manager in Tata Chemicals. He manages, his role is to manage the innovation, R&D, business excellence, and chief of ethics and sealer in Tata Chemicals. He has over 20 years of experience in handling strategy, business excellence, innovation, R&D, product launches, business, P&L, across different geographies and multi-million-dollar enterprise projects. So I think that's a good appetizer, and that makes everyone very curious to hear and to learn from Dr. Lobo. And those who are not aware of what Tata Chemicals are, wait a minute, and Richard will share that story within a minute, sharing with us their knowledge, management, and innovation journey. Thank you, Richard, for joining us. Please, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Maria, and I'm very privileged to be here. Thank you for your kind introduction, but I think I'm the least of all the learned, leaders here that has joined us today, and I really look forward to the questions and thoughts and suggestions as well on our journey. Please let me know if my presentation is coming up, and then we can get started.
1 minute.
Is it visible?
And wait a minute, half a minute, almost. Here we go. Please, you can start.
Excellent. So thank you very much once again for this opportunity. And I'll try and keep the tone of the presentation primarily linked to how at the Tata Group, primarily Tata Chemicals, we look at knowledge and innovation very integrated and how we use that as a power of delivering the future of our company and the future of sustainability and society. So I belong to the Tata Group. It's a 150-year-old enterprise in India, very respected in the country for its ethical conduct and high levels of integrity. And the group has been founded primarily on the aspects of nation building. And all our factories, all our businesses commit to the nation building aspect. We are about $160 billion as of the last financial year. The results are yet to be out of the new one, but we have crossed 1 million employees globally. We touch about 900 million consumers around the world. And we are located in all parts of the globe. I always joke that, Antarctica is the only one that we still need to have our operations in. And as you can see, the Tata Group is in multiple sectors. The iconic brands of Jaguar Land Rover or Tetley, the T brand, is part of the Tata Group. We've had joint ventures with Sky of the UK, with AIA and AIG, the insurance majors of the United States. And we create brands by ourselves in multiple locations, and many of our businesses are global leaders in their own right in many, many areas. Tata Communications, for instance, or Tata Consultancy Services, which is the software company. Both of these organizations rank in the top 3 in the world. We have amongst the top 5 steel making companies in the world, the top 10 automotive companies in the world. The company I come from, where I'm working in right now at Tata Chemicals, is the world's 3rd largest producer of a compound, which is called sodium carbonate, goes into glass and detergents. And I wanted to start by a small little story. So this is our factory that's there in India, while we are spread all around the world today. It started from a very small salt pan, and today it's Asia's largest inorganic chemical complex. The story that goes is way back in the 1920s, a monk was passing by on his way to a pilgrimage site, and he saw that people at the side of the road were in great plight and a lot of because droughts were hitting that region successively. And they've also had some famines that went by. And he goes to the local king and he tells the local king that, I was pained to see the sorrow of these people, and what can we do? And the king said, we need to prepare them for livelihood for the future. And how can we harness possibly science so that they can do something more from that land, which is already barren out there? And this story remained with the monk. Uh, in India, he's quite a revered monk known as Swami Vivekananda. He's very famous of when he went to Chicago and had a discourse. And that's when some press journalists documented his experiences. And almost 80 years later, an Indian scientist in the UK chanced upon this story, and he came to India. And he saw this place exactly the same, plight and poverty, and the need for giving transformation for people of the land. And he said, how can I harness science and knowledge that we've got for generations in order to be able to better their lives? What you see in front of you is the first salt pan that he created. And he taught the locals on how to harvest salt at high purity levels, which could go to the industry and start becoming into ingredients for various other products. Subsequently, he said we should now start making this compound called sodium carbonate, which is the value add for basic salt as you progress and scale. And that's what you can see as the two large factories that are there. Tata Chemicals today has a retail edible salt in a 1 kilo packet, which is used in everyday cooking, that goes to 650 million people in a year. So that's many countries put together. And it's a really low value product. And I mean, from an economical standpoint, it's not even 50 cents of a US dollar. So it's just a quarter of a US dollar or so. And we reach it to the length and breadth of India so that everybody will be able to have it in their homes. So that's the power of trying to be able to look at knowledge and then scale that knowledge. That's remained with us for the last 80, 90 years of our existence. And our company today has a mission of serving society through science. It's very enshrined and rooted in everything that we do, be it our strategy or our innovations or our operations excellence initiatives. We need to put science at the very core, and we need to make sure that there is a value that goes back to society, either in the terms of employment or being kind and humane to nature. So the whole aspect of sustainability and green chemistry has been part of Tata Chemicals for the last 8 decades, if not more. And so it is a very seamless journey for us. This is a quick snapshot of our length and breadth of the company. We are now spread across the entire 4 continents of Americas, Europe, Africa, and Asia, 15 factories. Like I mentioned, we're the 3rd largest producer of sodium carbonate. It goes into glass and detergents. It's estimated that every 6th vehicle anywhere in the world, the glass pane would possibly have our soda ash in it, because it goes into the making of that. Every detergent or alternate detergent of the big majors that make these brands that you find in supermarkets, 66% of them anywhere in the world would have our soda ash in it. And there are 2 big companies that make detergents, and we supply to both of them. Our ability to manage the operations from an innovation standpoint and rooted in knowledge allows us to be able to provide material to glass companies and detergent companies anywhere in the world. So we can truly supply to them globally. Disruptions in supply chains do not impact our organization because of our ability to understand very quickly of how we can move various grades of our material to our customers at their doorstep without having to increase cost and price for them. And this helps us start to become far more entrenched as a supplier of choice with our customers. The company by itself is spread across in multiple areas. So I spoke about soda ash or sodium carbonate, but we've got multiple other business lines that have emerged from our R&D over the years. And I'm going to deep dive into this on how our R&D comes into play with the harnessing of both innovation and knowledge. We have a 75-year-old agriculture company in our midst, focused primarily in India. We cater to about 80% of India's arable landscape. About 13.5 million farmers on a daily basis can be connected. But the leadership positions that you see out there, they are global leadership positions. So they are chemical compounds that are in the safe zone of agrochemicals. But we are pushing our R&D so that we become more bio-oriented, so biopesticides, biofertilizers, bionutrients, and so on. We have a nutrition science vertical. We make sodium bicarbonate, which is also called baking soda, but our products are focused more onto food and pharmaceutical grade. And we have a fledgling energy science vertical because India's need and demand for putting EVs on the road is very high. And the Tata Group stepped up. Today, 75% of the electric vehicles in India belong to the Tata Group. So we had to create our own technology, partner for technology, as well as ensure that end of life, our batteries don't end up in landfills. And so we focused earlier on recycling and other methodologies. I'll talk more about it as we go along. Here's another quick snapshot on how the company is organized, but largely it's about having a large manufacturing footprint. We've got 3 R&D centers and about 5,000 employees employed globally. But at the core of our operations is our ability to engage with community and provide a long-term value add to communities that serve around us. This is a picture of one of the local community women folk that are there, and their artist trade was dying because the next generation don't want to join in that same trade. They would want to get educated and go into cities. And we create a platform for them where their trade can actually be taken to market digitally. So anywhere in India or around the world, somebody can place an order for the products that they work on. And in parallel, we try to create frameworks so that we can protect the trade secrets. We can harness the knowledge of the culture and the heritage that is there and transfer it to the next generation so that they find pride in what their ancestors have been doing. And these efforts have paid off. We have the next generation wanting to pursue new vistas, but also being very, very rooted in what their parents and ancestors were doing. And this is a trade that was on its verge of almost collapse, is now a very flourishing one. And so on we do at all our other community areas as well. Like I mentioned, for us, Tata Chemicals has been a STEM company ever since it was born. It was primarily on the aspect of science, but then the intersection of making sure that we have engineering, technology, various kinds of mathematical frameworks in order for us to be able to grow from one salt pan to the world's 3rd largest producer of sodium carbonate. I started this journey when I took charge of as the chief of knowledge management many years ago. At that point, it was not called Mike, but it was called Make for those that have been in the journey for many, many years. And, it's a journey that I started because one of the jury members asked me at the Make engagements as to how far back can you actually trace your knowledge management journey with real evidence. And we've been able to trace it until 1954 with various documents that we had. And it was quite surprising for us that, as far as then, we had a formal codification of the fact of, idea sharing, a suggestion scheme. The roots of a culture of innovation was coming about, while it was not called innovation at that point in time, but they were calling it improvement and change. And so on, we kept mapping it. And then we said, let's look at how various interventions over the last many decades have served our organization. I recently have put all of this onto a Gen AI platform in order to be able to understand every 4 years or every 6 years, what has been the psyche and the culture of the organization and how it has helped us in our journey ahead. And what you see at the bottom is an output of that. It's a very simplified version of what I got from Gen AI. But it's helped me learn tremendously, right? If you see, we understand every 4 years or every 6 years, the company's focus on cost starts increasing significantly. And this coincides with the fact that our product is a commodity cycle. And every time it hits the commodity aspects of price points, we start focusing on cost saving and profitability improvements. And then there are those times when we will be buoyed to look at new innovations and new customer focus and then spur and grow. And so we can now realign our organizational efforts as well, because we can now predict in some form and fashion the future. And we can then harness the tools of today and tomorrow in order for our people to be far more enabled when we meet those various cycles that are there. At the core of it, across this 15 factories that I am responsible for in business excellence, knowledge management, innovation, and areas, I've segregated it into 4 parts. So we have teams that work on the operations excellence and productivity areas. We've got those that are deeply work with an obsession for the customer. One section which is about people, harnessing ideas, creating a culture of knowledge, learning, innovation. And obviously the last one, which we're all committed to, is of sustainability, not just for society, but for environment. And primarily because it's extremely vital business and human rights and ethical practices in business. I would be preaching to the choir if I start explaining each of these approaches, but largely they're kind of self-explanatory. Safety is at the core. We are a manufacturing setup, and every year we pick 1,000 of our approaches and we push them through various rigors in order to be able to make sure that we are committing to the highest level of culture of safety, while process of safety is easier to fix than the culture of safety. We ran a program called Simplify Life, and the numeral 5 was largely to say that there will be no approval anywhere in the world that needs more than 5 steps. And as you can imagine, we've got factories in the US, in the UK, in Kenya, in Morocco, and in India. We've got shipping operations in South Africa. We've got operations in Indonesia and Singapore, and it's so very culturally diverse. But we ran this program for 3 years, and we got extremely great value from it, trying to simply focus on the aspect of trying to make sure that nothing was more than 5 steps. We reached a point where some of our approvals were happening in a matter of seconds. And the whole aspect of trying to bring in then digital and then layering it with various kinds of risk methodologies as well as cybersecurity started coming into play earlier on, because our IT system started seeing that we wanted to make decisions faster. And we wanted to cut layers in the system. And so they started putting these guardrails well in advance for us. I wouldn't say that we are immune from all the issues that are there, but it helps us become far more stronger and a better understanding of the risks that are there at the international level, and the need for becoming far more secure from a social platforms and a cybersecurity perspective. Like all large, great organizations, we also commit to continuous improvement, be it Six Sigma, Kaizen, TQM, 5S, TRIZ, the community of practices. So the top portion is about the action that we do. The portion on the lower side of the slide is the celebrations that we do. So we have an operations excellence convention where our colleagues come and then they globally showcase their improvements and transformatory impact that happens across the businesses. Abhinav is a Indian terminology for innovation, and Mela means fair. So it's basically an innovation fair focused primarily on the sales force. And my biggest desire is that while my teams focus on doing innovation on the front line, taking on competition, we need to make sure that they do it in a very, very ethical and upright manner. In many ways, I say it also has to be very gentlemanly and living up to promises. So at this fair, they need to come and talk to us about the innovation efforts that they have undertaken in order to capture new markets, penetrate into new avenues, the way they have created new markets, because that also requires a different mindset. And sometimes ours is a replacement of a product, and so you snatch the share from another competition. And we look at the thinking, the mindset, and the underlining aspect is how have you done this innovatively and ethically? And that delivers great value for our organization. It goes back into our knowledge bloodstream that we live and breathe in. The third aspect is what we like to call Incotech. So it's innovation, collaboration, and technology. It is how can innovative thinking collaborate with the next generation technologies and we bring them together. And the core of this is in open innovation, the ability to liberate the aspect of sharing in intellectual property and creating value for the future by bringing the best of teams together. And I have some examples that I can talk about. Here are some customer-centric approaches. I won't go through all of them, but two of the ones that worked really well for us was the whole aspect of stage and gate, where we looked at our new product development cycle time and we crashed it from 200 days to about 50 days. And we've codified it into the system with various frameworks. And this is by 3 layers. We engaged with our board of directors. We brought in our competition, our best of competition, to spend time with us and tell us why we suck and where they think we do really bad. And we asked our youngsters in the organization to come up with a framework. So this was the triage that I created. And we then tested it by trying and putting our products in market. And we've been able to achieve a 50-day cycle of new products to market. And this is a testament. It means at any point in time, if we need to launch a product, including creating a brand, making sure we follow all regulatory norms and we have it out into the market, we have the assurance in the organization that we can do it time-tested 50 days, regardless of disruptions in supply chains or any others. Very often, I do what's called a business continuity plan on this. So there's a mock drill that we do to make sure that we trigger a product launch in the market just to see whether our teams will really be able to manage it on 50 days or not and what's happening to our entire process. The other one is what is called OKAI, and this presentation is going to be shared with you. I'd welcome you to look at it. It's a story that I spoke about in advance. So we have 600 rural women now. It had dwindled down to just about 5 or 6 or 10 ladies, but now we've got 600 of them. Local artisans, where we are able to bring their craft to communities and societies online. I'll go a little faster so that we have more time for interaction. This is a picture of my R&D center. We've got 3 of them in the country, and we focus on a wide range of chemistries. But you know, I wouldn't want to take us back to school and chemistry days. I'll rather talk about the products that we do. So I briefly spoke about salt. So Tata Salt, which is a retail edible salt, reaches about 650 million people in a year. The change was the iodization of salt. It was a call of the nation where India was going through severe goiter problems, and the only way to reach iodine in the diet of Indians was through salt. And the Tata Group raised its hand saying we are willing to take on this mission. We used to not retail salt in those days, but we decided to enter into the aspect of retailing salt and then taking it to the masses. And that's why the focus is there to make sure that we reach it to every single corner of the country. About 15 years ago, we had a study that came out that some parts of India, the women had acute anemia issues because of lack of iron in their diet. And we then quickly learned iron fortification of salt, and we learned it the hard way. When you add the iron compound in salt, the iron starts getting bluish green when it's being cooked, because obviously iron oxidizes, and nobody wants to see something bluish green in their food. So we had 2 options. We could go to market and say, if it turns bluish green, you absolutely have iron in your salt. Or we could go back to the drawing board and to our R&D labs, spend a few millions of dollars and try and see that it was again free flowing. We chose the latter. And we learned encapsulation as a technology. Now we have the ability to encapsulate that iron particle, and at the right pH or the right acidity in the gut of the lady, it can get released and it's absorbed very, very quickly into the bloodstream of for health and nutrition. And where we supply this again to the vulnerable parts of the country where iron is needed in the diet for the lady. We also have a 15% low sodium salt version because of hypertension and other issues that are there in the country. We looked at another issue that was happening. I'm sorry, there's a cut, but basically it says the rice, this is a rice husk ash journey. So you have rice, which is grown in large quantities, primarily in Southeast Asia. The rice straw and the rice husk are generally waste. And generally, the farmers will just burn them because it becomes good carbon source back again, but it impacts the environment. So what's happening across most parts of the world is these get chopped up into tiny, tiny, small bits, and then it's sent into boilers as a cheap source of energy. What happens after it's incinerated in the boilers is you get ash. And that ash is thrown into river bodies or into landfills. It's a good source of carbon, but too much of it in one location can start choking the environment. What we've done is we've looked at this as an agri-waste problem in the country, and we started extracting silica from there. So we took the rice husk ash, which comes in from incineration of boilers, and we started the top journey. We put nano silver as a coating, and we came up with the world's cheapest water purifier. The next journey that we did was we said, can we take the same material, change the characteristics, and try and put it into tires? And it goes in tires today as highly dispersible silica. And I'll show you some of the results. So we focus on addressing some of the most challenging aspects of pure, clean drinking water in rural parts of not just India, but many other parts of Asia as well. In India, we have a target of reaching 2 million households. We have local village level entrepreneurs that we train. So we don't have our own sales force. It gives opportunities to the local villages to learn better. They work for us for a year and they send it out ahead. But what's very important is this is zero electricity run unit. It is zero running water, so you don't need to attach a running water tap. You can just pour water into it because that's what happens in most parts of the communities. And we're able to have at our large scale units at a very, very low price point, as you can see, per liter. It allows local communities to be able to have what I would say life free from viruses, bacteria, and fungi up to US FDA standards. This is a picture that I took when I used to be the chief of strategy before my current role. I went to one of the villages to see whether it really works. And this is a school right up in the hills in the remote part of India. And as you can see, this is during the lunch break. They come, they fill their water, and they're going back. But we have a great assurance that the future of India will be able to have pure, clean drinking water without having to fall sick to typhoid and diarrhea because of low quality of purification in the remotest parts. The same aspect and the same journey, when put into tires, allows us to have a business model. We are able to achieve 20 to 30% lower fuel consumption depending upon the tire, and a 20% increase in the life of the tire. So if a tire ran for 50,000 kilometers, it now goes for 62,500 kilometers. It is silica that comes out from that rice husk, and that silica blends very well with the tires. It increases what is called the rolling resistance on the road. So it gives better grip in the rains, in the summer, as well as in snow. So it becomes all-terrain and then allows it to have much safer, durable, efficient operations on the road. We have a 10,000 tons plant in India. We've got so much of demand that we are now tripling our capacity to over 30,000 tons per annum. What we did in the UK, using our knowledge of chemistry, is we said, so we make this compound called soda ash, like I mentioned, sodium carbonate. It goes into glass and detergents. You can add more carbon dioxide to it. It becomes bulkier. But at pharmaceutical grade, it goes into bakery products, but it also goes into kidney dialysis and other pharmaceutical requirements. And we said, can we then take this challenge of sucking 40,000 tons of carbon dioxide, putting it to our base compound, which is soda ash, and making it to the grade and standards of kidney dialysis. And we started this journey prior to COVID. This factory that you see was set up during COVID using our internal knowledge and understanding how we can bring various partners together in order to make this a reality. We needed the support of the UK government. We needed support of technology providers who would be able to help us capture the carbon dioxide and deliver it to us at 99.99% purity. And we've been able to achieve it. We have a plant that's running at high capacity now, 40,000 tons. And we are already supplying pharmaceutical grade sodium bicarbonate that goes for kidney dialysis to 60 countries around the world. It's a product that's in great demand, and it's needed for betterment of health across the world. As we know, this element is striking all societies, and the cost of dialysis is extremely high because of three ingredients that needs to go into this dialysis process. One of the three ingredients is sodium bicarbonate, and we believe we are playing our share of trying to make sure that we can deliver greater value. But upstream, we are also addressing the challenge of what's called the yields of carbon dioxide by capturing it and converting it into a value-added product. Like I mentioned, we have about 75% market share on electric vehicles. That's the real picture of one of our cars that's there in India. But earlier on, we decided that we cannot have our EV batteries ending up in a landfill. We worked with various partners. We used our knowledge of chemistry and our knowledge of operations excellence. And we kind of put up our own lithium battery recycling unit. We took mobile and laptop batteries to start with because EV batteries were not there in the country. And we started looking at extracting all the metals using what's called the hydrometallurgical route. It's a very safe, gentle process on the environment. You can also ensure zero liquid discharge, zero solid waste. The other conventional process is pyrolysis. So you throw it in a furnace and then you try and take out the best materials. But we chose this as a route because we felt it was far more better to environment and society. It takes almost double the time of pyrolysis, but it's a trade-off when you need to be able to look at society far more importantly. And as you can see, it helps tremendously. Importantly, it reduces the impact of damage on the lives of people linked in the artisanal value chain of dismantling batteries, which you see, or the fact that certain minerals and materials comes in from artisanal mining, or the fact that some of them are ecological damages because of the whole aspect of mining. So this largely is called urban mining, and we are happy that we have our share in that. We have a 99-acre property, and we thought, how can we leverage that in order to be able to use next generation agriculture, bring in farmers so that they can engage with newer technologies and learn what can be done better. And we put up this vertical farming, also called aeroponics. So you grow plants without soil. And we used our R&D to be able to make sure that these plants largely, so let's say it's turmeric or turmeric, it's got curcumin as one of the bioactives, or chili has got capsaicin as one of the bioactives. And how do we ensure that you increase the value of that bioactive? We have 95% less water as compared to soil, 5 to 7 times the yield that you would get over soil, completely natural, so zero pesticides, and maybe 65% lesser nutrients. And we bring farmers every 4 months, 3 months to come and engage with different kinds of crops so that they can see, learn, and bring this back to value. During COVID, we launched a nano zinc oxide formulation. N95 masks were not available for a country like ours, which is having 1.4 billion as a population, having mask which has got nano silver in it, which is the N95, was not available. And so we started manufacturing nano zinc oxide, which had antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal properties. And we started producing it, giving it free of cost in the service of the nation. We have subsequently halted the product because COVID is now behind us, right? We partner with a wide range of R&D institutions, universities. Here are some of them which we have, our consents with, but our basket is far larger. Coming to people, here's how we leverage our internal aspects. I'm sure all of us do this in our own organizations and our institutions, but we have an approach called All Ideas Matter. We get about 3,000 of unsolicited ideas a year. 25% of them get implemented. We then have another structure to make sure that there is a review of those that actually got rejected, because sometimes bias comes in of manufacturing plants where they say corporate should do this, or we have tried this and it won't work. So, 18 to 20% is our first rate implementation, and the next 4% comes in from the second level evaluation that we do of rejected ideas in the system. Our knowledge management platform is called K Connect. It allows people, in order to be able to upload information, download information, but we actually track the 50% engagement largely is about those that engage with the platform to take some value and then implement that value and give us feedback again in terms of how well are we doing. And we're quite happy that we've got about a 50% engagement rate in today's world, where people are far more happier being on the digital platforms that allows them to be on their own mobile phones. The Tata Innovista is the Tata's group initiative, where we all send our innovations, and the best of innovations across the Tata group get recognized. We have an average of about 1,800 to 2,000 innovations that we send out there. We do a knowledge fair, a knowledge cafe, which is done by, I'm sure, many of us, so I won't go too much into detail with that. Finally, here's our strategic priorities going forward for a company like ours. We have taken this aspect of excel, embed, and expand. Knowledge management and innovation are going to be very core for us, centered around people and digitalization in order to be able to deliver operations excellence and functional excellence. Our R&D is also seated here in order to be able to deliver for the future. We've got a specific project because we have taken targets about getting to net zero by 2040. And there's a lot of innovation and knowledge that we're using in our own ecosystem and our partners' ecosystem in order to be able to deliver to that journey. And we are a manufacturing footprint, like I keep mentioning. Our growth can happen on capacity expansions while making sure our carbon footprint and our energy footprint is in check, or largely in line with green sustainable aspects, and then bringing out newer and better products to market, both for our customers as well as serving society and serving the needs of tomorrow. I think that's all I had. Thank you very much, and happy to take questions.
Can you, oh, there's already a question. Christine, oh no, Lynn is saying that it's a fantastic presentation.
Thank you very much.
And Manfred is speaking about the implementation rates of 20 to 25%. It seems extremely high. What's your experience here? What rates do you have when you're speaking about implementation compared to ideas?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, thank you for the question. So we get about 3,000 ideas a year, and many of them being unsolicited. But, I think the value that we find is that these ideas come in from the shop floor. And we spend a large, significant portion of our time going back to the shop floor saying, we've heard your ideas, we value your ideas, and this is why we are implementing them. And I didn't touch upon the reward and recognition system, because we all have them in various form and fashions, but we reward all of them. It drives a great momentum. And we've been able to sustain this really well. And like I mentioned, about 18 to 20% of these implemented ideas coming from the first pass. So some people have given the ideas of these 3,000, and then we've seen, committees have seen them. We back them by either funding, or some of them are quick fixes. Some we involve them themselves to do it. And then I have teams which do Kaizens and 5S and Six Sigma and so on and so forth. What worries me is the fact that we still have about 3 to 4% of ideas that come in from the rejected box. So we need to take out more and more bias in our system, because we've seen that many a times managers, particularly when they are at 25 years, 15 years in the system, they say, we have done this, we have seen this many times, it's not going to work. And the youngster that believes that it's going to happen or has seen something in another company says, you're just resistant to wanting to get this done. And we've been at the last 5 years at this 3-4% of ideas that were rejected that actually get implemented. And that's an area for us, at least for me, a journey that I need to make sure that we are able to do better, because we need to take off biases in our system. And of course, I have my own biases, but if we can leverage that in the factories, it's far more better. And every year we need to map what is the impact of this 25% of implementation. It has to result in either lower carbon footprint, lower energy, higher employee morale, then cost savings, or improvement in safety. It has to fall in some of these buckets. If they don't, we generally go back to the person saying, can you think of it more differently and come back to us? So that because management will spend time and money only if they see value in this. I hope I was able to answer the question. Sorry, I saw some more questions, so I'm happy to answer that.
Wow, so we have 3 more questions. Also, Rudy's here, Rudolf, but we'll start with Andre. Then we will move to Rudolf and then to Sven. So please start and introduce yourselves.
Thank you, Moria. Thank you, Richard. Very interesting presentation. I wonder if all those initiatives are managed by your area. I hear that you're from innovation, R&D, and business excellence. So target zero harm, operational excellence, convention, simplify, webinar Mela, digital initiatives, spotlight, and so on. Are all they managed by your area, or other departments are
Thank you
involved?
very much. Yeah, so I have to do a lot of influencing, because knowledge management and innovation, if it comes from one department, it is seen as that department's KRAs and KPIs. We don't have a single person in our entire organization who's termed as a knowledge management, manager or anything like that. We democratize it by saying everybody's a knowledge worker, everybody's a innovation manager. So these are anchored primarily by the site heads, the chiefs of the manufacturing plants, and then that gives the great momentum. Thank you for asking the question. So for instance, Simplify, I will go to the factory that has been crying that they have got the most bureaucracy in the system. And I will then appoint the chief of that manufacturing unit saying, you start becoming the lighthouse in this. And let's focus on trying to make yours better. The moment we get success from there, we start broad basing it across. So a lot of these programs starts getting anchored by somebody in different parts of our geography. So there is greater connect. For instance, Abhinav Mela, which is for the sales and marketing team, we primarily focus it in India because, the Indian culture of sales is very, very different from how we would have in other parts of our ecosystem. So we want to focus more on how they engage at the last mile. And that's not anchored by the sales and marketing chief. It is co-anchored by the head of strategy and me. So we do a lot of co-anchoring, because the moment people start seeing it belongs to one particular department, we then start getting, stereotyped that it needs, because it comes from this department, we need to do. So it's very democratized in that sense. We don't have a dedicated team anywhere across our sites for knowledge management or culture of innovation.
Great, thank you. So you use line managers
Line
and
managers, yes.
co-anchors, uh, co-directing the initiatives.
Yes, yes. So we're primarily line managers, and that also serves as great recognition platforms for them, because then they can speak to the senior management and talk about what they have done as transformations.
Thank you.
Hi,
One-
Thank
Richard.
you for the
Rudolph here.
question. Hello,
I'm
Rudolph. I
based
was
at
telling
Mumbai
Moria
itself.
about you. I told Moria Rudolph is a very good friend of mine. And then she
Yes,
told me
yes,
you
yes.
moved to sustainability. I said, oh, I need to
No,
catch
no,
up
I'm
with you.
in both. Don't worry. I'm in both knowledge management, innovation, and sustainability. It's KISS in short.
Oh,
So
excellent. Excellent.
anyway, my question is, how do you build innovation capacity in the organization? Because you mentioned you'll use all the tools, including TRIZ, etc. So are there training programs that you'll run regularly on the different tools that are available for innovation? And so
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Rudolph. So two ways that we do it. One is every quarter we get reviewed by the board, and we are a listed company. So in some ways, not just the board, but with our shareholders and the market. So there's a lot of input that comes in for us from different parts of our ecosystem. The other one is our customers. And we constantly spend time with customers to learn from them where the markets are shifting, what's happening, and so on and so forth. These two become very pivotal for us on our innovation journey. We map that to our factories, and then there is a program that gets created for them. So, for instance, right now, one of our largest factories is undergoing theory of constraints. And we have told them that they need to leverage that in order to be able to deliver better. We've got a large capital investment project, and we realized after everything that we have done with all our knowledge of all these years, there is a potential for slip in timelines. And that could mean a lot of money for us. And the slip in timelines is because of geopolitical issues, right? So they're not getting the right equipment and parts. But rather than try and say anything, we've actually started a training on theory of constraints, because we said we need your minds to work better. So that's largely how we do it, Rudolph. And it's mainly anchored by while I make the decisions on the programs, but it's anchored by a corporate HR, so that, they have the right momentum, they make sure they get the right partners. It becomes the responsibility of the HR of the factory to make sure that the people have got trained and delivered and so on and so forth.
thank you, Richard.
Yes, Sven.
Yeah, hi, very interesting presentation. My question was around the KM teams, but you answered that already in that it's democratized across, and everybody is a knowledge manager and innovation manager. I forget the terminology you used.
Yes, a knowledge worker. We call them a
Knowledge worker and
Yes.
innovation manager. Very good. But what's your budget to drive initiatives? So I assume that there's out of the 3,000 ideas that are solicited and the ones that are selected, there may be some investment needed in order to realize them. Is that a budget that is with you, or is that a decentralized budget, or how does
So
it
there
work?
is a budget that's there with me. So the first, thank you. It's an excellent question. The first journey that we do is there is committees at the factory level, because the ideas come in from the factories, and once those ideas are selected at the factory, I will sit down at the final evaluation, and I will nudge the factory head saying, why don't you use your budget, because this is going to help you. If there is an immediate realization, let's say in reduction of costs, reduction in carbon footprint, reduction in energy, we nudge the factory head to do it. So I will speak to the chief manufacturing officer, who's my counterpart, and we'll put the right soft pressure saying he needs to do the investment today because he'll reap the benefits tomorrow. And we will guarantee he will see it, because then I will put somebody who understands a methodology. So the methodology will either be a 5S, a Kaizen, a TRIZ, a Six Sigma, or maybe just project management if you need to do investments for a technology intervention. Then there is those that will definitely help in safety or employee morale. Now, safety and employee morale do not give you financial returns. So there's always a resistance in trying to promote them. So the safety goes straight up to the corporate safety head. And I tell him, say, lives of people are very important. You need to make this investment. It's a brilliant idea that is coming. We have to do it. If it falls in employee morale, I take it in my budget because it is culture. If I keep going to the chief of HR, he will keep saying that, Richard, you can keep bringing me ideas, but I have got this host of other things to do, right? Because he does employee engagement surveys and he has to spend his money on addressing those issues rather than the ideas that come in. So I term it as culture and I bring it in. But then there are ideas that are linked to sustainability, linked to product, linked to operations and technology, which comes straight under my budget. So I have a budget that gets allocated by, and we are showing results year on year. We map the results, which is signed off by the finance department of every factory. So these results are seen by the CFO, is seen by my board. So they give me the percentage of the savings or the percentage of this. And many a times I say, I need this much for the financial year. And I keep getting it because they see the results coming back.
That was an interesting ending, that the budget of next year is based on the success of last year.
Oh, yes, it has to, or else, so it's a motivation as well for the teams, right? So, and if they keep raising the bar, you need to, but I should tell you, I know you're recording it, but if there's an improvement in employee morale or a reduction in safety incidents, I don't think our corporate teams take the credit of the ideas coming in. They say because it's a host of all other things that we're anyway doing. But it's part and parcel of the process. It's how we operate in any organization. So.
Wonderful. I think we all learned a lot here. Are there any additional questions?
Maureen,
Yes,
I
I
think
see
there's a
one.
question from
Yes,
Liron.
Liron. Yes.
Hmm?
Liron, I'm sorry I missed it.
Yes,
And
hi.
yes, Liron, please.
Okay,
Hi, Liron.
hi. You talked about cooperation with so many fields. Do you ensure any cooperation between the different entities, the different companies in your corporation? And if you do work on any kind of cooperation between them, how do you manage it? How do you bring the ideas for working between the two companies in Tata? Two or more.
So Liron, working within our organizations, is good and easy. It's not difficult at all for us. We have community of practices and things like that. But I think the challenge comes in open innovation. And if you permit me, maybe I can answer that. See, internally, because people know each other, there is a bond. And we encourage this community of practices. So let's say it is maintenance, and across sites, they want to talk about maintenance and issues and best practices. They may differ in their opinions about various kinds of things, but by and large, they also like to meet our colleagues from different parts of the globe, and there's a respect for them largely. In the whole aspect of open innovation, it is not just about new technologies and products, but also new ways of working in our own environment. There's a lot of resistance naturally because people feel that, we've been operating in this way for such a long period of time. This new perspective comes primarily from a different culture and a different way of working. So, how do we implement it here? Let's just say if it is about co-development of a new product or co-development of a new technology, we have resistance in the fact that people feel, my ideas need to be patented before I discuss with somebody else. Or what happens to my idea or my journey at the end of this, because somebody else is coming with better expertise and, in all these areas. And we've been working through this. It's a cultural shift and change that we need to do. On the product and technology side, we've kind of liberated it internally for us. So we are now open to joint IP creations. We are open to IP being vested in the other company, but for 10 years, Tata Chemicals will get the rights to execute and deliver and things like that. So we've come up with various kinds of frameworks. It allows our people to also learn more and the external ecosystem to come in and engage with us better. But our India plant is about 85 years old, almost close to 90 now. Our US operations is 150 years old. Our Kenya operations is 150 years old. Our UK operations is close to about 200 years old. So we've got a great respect for heritage and legacy. And shift in technologies in this don't come in as easy because people feel that, for generations we've been doing it in a particular way. We recognize there is a new way to do it, but isn't ours also as good? Right? So I think that's where the challenges come. So internally, we don't find it as much as bringing in new ideas. It's a journey for us to undertake. We have to chip at it day in and day out. So thank you for asking this, Liron. This is one of the big agenda items. I keep talking at all my senior executive meetings I attend.
Very interesting. I just want to go back to Andre's question. I love the approach saying that all workers are knowledge workers and they are all R&D people. But what's the size of the R&D innovation KM core team? Because you do have a team with you that works in order to leverage all the knowledge workers through Tata Chemicals.
Yeah, so Moria, there is a core team that sits at Tata Group level, which is the holding company. That group level overlooks 199 companies, large listed entities, and each of them have many more companies. So that group actually holds 3,000, 4,000 companies, if you may say. And Tata Chemicals is one of those because we're in the chemical sector. So there's steel, chemicals, motors, and so on. And I have the chemical sector in it. I've got 200 scientists that are dedicated to next generation R&D because we need to bring out products to market. So when I was giving the examples of open innovation and all, largely it should sit there. But when it comes to knowledge workers, innovation champions and leaders, I don't have a dedicated team. It's all line managers that needs to do it. It's the site factory heads that need to do it. We have people trained in Six Sigma. So there are master black belts. There are Triz and Kaizen senseis and so on and so forth. So we've got those built as layers that are there and we pool them in. But at the Tata Group center level, because, if you've got 3,000 companies spread around the world, 199 big, large listed entities or known companies, then you need to have a holding group, so to say. So there is a knowledge management team, there is a innovation team. So they kind of steer and then share best practices between, let's say, Tata Steel and Tata Chemicals and Jaguar Land Rover and so on and so forth, right? So we learn as one group and entity.
Okay, I learned. Thank you, everyone. We learned a lot and really want to thank you for taking the time and the effort and sharing your journey with us. So thank you, everyone. I want to remind you, next week we will have Professor Eric Tiu from Hong Kong speaking with us, speaking about technologies that can serve as base to innovation. So please join us again. And thank you, everyone, for joining today. Have a great evening, morning, night, wherever you are. Bye all.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Great session. Thank you.